Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to a brand new tutorial. Today we're going to be making this hip-hop 808 kick, or 808, you can just call it that, and this is how it sounds like. Alright, so that's going to be the sound, and obviously it's going to be used in the lower octaves, and this is going to be a kick for like a trap song or a hip-hop song. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the kick though. I'm sure if you've heard radio, you've heard the Mustard beat, DJ Mustard beats, and all those beats by hip-hop utilize an 808. And the reason for that is because it's strong, and when you hear this stuff at the club, the bass just is so good because it's like don. So I'm sure you've heard Rack City by Tyga, which was one of DJ Mustard's first big hits, and it utilizes an 808, and the bass is really nice as well. So today we're going to be learning how to make it. I am going to start making hip-hop tutorials, pop-type tutorials, and indie kind of rockish synthesized sounds to broaden my channel a bit more. So I hope you guys are in for a treat and learning new methods in order to get these type of sounds. And hopefully you can utilize these methods in order to create your own amazing sounds. Alright, so straight off the bat, making an 808 is fairly simple. And you only need two things, and these are the two major things, is you want a sine wave. And you can have as many voices as you want with it. It all depends on you. Obviously, the more voices, it just means that you're going to have more sine waves coming out. So every voice, think of it as one voice per person. So you have 8 people going, ha. It's going to sound bigger than just one person by themselves, unless that person is like a fucking killer. Pretty much what we want here is we're going to have one voice, and you're just going to want to distort. And those are the two main things that you just need to remember in order to create an 808. And then the rest is going to be giving the shape to the 808, because straight off the bat, once you put a sine and a distortion unit on it, what happens is you have the sound, but you don't have it shaped. And I feel like a lot of people have that tendency to they go on the right path, but then shaping the sound is the hard part. So we're going to be shaping it via envelopes, and envelopes are pretty much activated as soon as you press down a note. So me pressing down a note on a keyboard like that will activate the envelope in a silent one. So straight off the bat, if you notice, we have amp envelope A, and then we have mod envelopes here. So these envelopes can be routed to various parameters, and amp envelope A is routed to the amp. And think of the amp as something like a guitar has an amp. That's where the sound comes out. So the amp, or the mixer, you can call it as well, our sound will come out through there, and the amp is going to shape that sound. But we're going to be utilizing another envelope in order to give it that punchiness, and we'll talk about it. So in oscillator A1, we have this down two octaves, because this is a very bass heavy sound, and it's pretty much going to take up a lot of your low end. We put the stereo down knob here, and the reason for that is because we want to set this to mono. Anything that's very low in the low hertz, like 200 and down, you always want to set to mono. And the reason for that is because if you don't set it to mono and you have a wide bass, you sometimes run into phasing issues, and that just causes your track to lose a lot of headroom, and it just sounds nasty. So we're going to be setting this to mono in order to have the bass in the center. And also, once we set that bass to the center, we can utilize the stereo field, stereo spectrum, in order to achieve a better sound. Like, we can put the leads to be wide, so then the leads and the bass, they don't fight each other. They're in their own little spot. Okay, so that's the main reason of putting this knob down, and it does a lot. Obviously, if I wanted to, I could leave it in stereo and then put a mono utility on it, or something, a stereo imager type of plugin, in order to set it to mono. But we can just do it straight off the bat in silent one by doing this simple turn of the knob. We are going to be utilizing a sine wave, which is relatively, by itself, it's a very smooth type of sound, and we are going to be utilizing one voice. So 2 voices means that 2 sine waves are coming just out of this one oscillator, and you can go up to 8 voices, but we are going to leave it at 1. If you want to have the retrig on and off, it's all on you. This is with the retrig off and retrig on. So I don't notice any huge difference in it. I felt like retrig was a little bit harsher, so I took it off, and that's just preference. All the retrig is doing is returning the phase back to its starting point after you let go of a key. Okay, so then we go into amp envelope A, where we're going to shape the sound. So we're going to pretty much tell the envelope how to release the sound from the synth. So it's going to come out of the mixer via these parameters. And we have attack, decay, sustain, and release. Our attack knob is going to say how fast the sound is going to come out. So how fast is this going to reach the peak of our decay? And then we have our decay, which is going to decide the point at which it goes down into the sustain level. So in the sustain level, if I had it up, I would be able to sustain this bass. And with the sustain up, the bass will always be there. But we want to have it down, and we're going to use our decay, which is going to pretty much have the attack go straight to the decay value. And then from decay, it's going to go into the sustain value. So if I wanted to have the kick go boom and then go down to a lower volume, I could do that with the sustain knob here. Volume decreases, and now it's going to remain there for as long as I have the key down, as you can see, and I let go of the key. And then our release kicks in, and our release is going to decide how long the sound sticks around after you let go of the key before it goes down to back to 0 dB. So if you notice, if I have my release low, that's all that's going to come out. But high, and there you go. So our sustain is down, and our release is set to around 5 o'clock, 6. And you can decide how long that kicks, or the 808 sticks around, by moving the release and just deciding those parameters. Finally, we're going to apply a filter A. It's going to be a low pass filter, and all that's stating is that your highs are going to get removed the more the cutoff gets turned down. So imagine you having a hand and putting it over your mouth. And if you notice, when you put it over your mouth, you'll only be able to hear the lower frequencies of your voice, and you won't be able to hear the higher pitched ones. So that's what a low pass is, and it fully covers it. At the end of the cutoff, the last thing you'll hear is the bass. So we have our cutoff knob set to around 2 here, and we have a resonance of 6.86. And our drive here is going to be set to 3.05, and all our drive is doing is obviously just increasing volume. Once we have that, we're going to do a very important part of the sound is we're going to apply a mod envelope 1 to our pitch A, which is going to be part A. And we're going to turn this black thing to 1.05 to the right. So value of 1.05. So you turn this black knob to that value. And then we're going to apply a little bit of decay. So you remember how I told you guys how attack, decay, sustain, and release work? Well, here, pretty much what's happening is our attack is instant. So the pitch of part A is going to get changed to by a value of 1.05. So it's going to go up to this value. And our decay is going to kick in. And you can see we have a very low decay, which means it's going to be fast. So the decay is going to go fast to the sustain level. So pretty much what's going to happen is the pitch is going to change really fast. Like you won't even be able to hear it. And what that's going to give you is just a punchier sound. So that's how we achieve the punchiness of our 808. Take it off. I'm going to put it on. You can see what it's doing. And there you have it. So right now I'm going to leave this at 2.57. And I'm going to leave the decay around 1.78. And you can lower it down more to make it as punchy as you want. Alright, so now we're going into the distortion, where I have an overdrive type distortion at the amount of 7.43. And if you guys wanted to, you guys could change the distortion, which will give you a different type of feel to your 808. We have the fold back. We have a clip. We have a decimate. And then we have a bit crusher. And the decimate and bit crusher, I don't recommend using them for this type of sound. I usually recommend overdrive, foldback, and clip for bassy type of sounds. So I'm going to stick with the overdrive because it conserves the bass, the low end of the sound, unlike the foldback and the clip. And now we have that. Okay, and then finally we're going to put some EQ. We're going to be using a 1 pulse so we don't get that type of filterish EQ. Our bass is going to get boosted by a value of 12.07 dB, as you can see here, at the frequency of 123.88 hertz. And our treble is set straight at 12 o'clock, where it's going to be boosting by 7.50 dB at a super high frequency. Alright guys, and once we have that, we're going to increase the main volume here. Let's turn mix B down because we're not using it. And if you want this to be louder straight out of the synth, you can increase mix A if you desire. And we're going to have... and there we have have it, last thing to do is just put the mono legato on, which is just saying that this sound can only be played one key at a time, so I can't play chords with it, and you wouldn't want to either way, because whenever you have a type of distortion on a sound, if you play 2 or 3 notes at the same time, 3 distortions are going off, and what happens is you get a cluttered mess of your high end, which sounds really bad. And finally, we're gonna put from normal to slide, and pretty much what this means is in normal mode, in order for me to get that slide effect, the legato, I have to be holding down the note before the one I'm going to while I'm doing the transition. So like this, like that. And then in slide, you don't need to do that. It will do it automatically. So there we have it. This is going to be an 808 kick. If you guys want to download this preset, you guys can go to my evilsounds.com page and download it there from the free download site. And while you're there, make sure to check the store out to see if you guys want some EDM sounds. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.